inside a cultural box. Still dresses like he is Michael J. Fox. And now every chance that he gets, he keeps playing that same music. To him nothing is the same as the songs that were made those days back in '85. In '85. In '85.
This is your AEW Collision review for Saturday, July 22nd, 2023. I am the Solomonster here with you 24 hours removed from SmackDown. I feel like we just did this. But tonight, it was all about tag team wrestling. And this has been the theme so far of Collision. Collision is the destination for great tag team wrestling. Obviously, last week, we had an all-timer in AEW, the nearly 1 hour AEW tag team title match between FTR and Bullet Club Gold. We didn't have any hour-long matches tonight, but we did get another very good tag team match. In the main event, it was CM Punk, teamed up with Darby Allin to take on Ricky Starks and Christian Cage, the unofficial TNT champion. Tonight was about the aftermath between CM Punk and Ricky Starks. Last week, we had the finals of the Owen Hart tournaments, men's and women's, and we saw Ricky Starks steal a win from CM Punk. So tonight, we're going to find out how Punk would react to that, and the main event was made on the show. Because honestly, coming into the show tonight, on paper, it looked very weak. They were in Newark tonight. They were in Newark, New Jersey. They've been waiting for this show for a while. This is the first Collision back here on American soil. U.S. soil, I should say. They've been up in Canada now for several weeks, but they were back here in the U.S. tonight. And really in Boston on Wednesday for Dynamite. But Ricky Starks, for the second week in a row, steals a win away from CM Punk. And it is very clear, just based on how he was acting on this show and what they're doing with him right now, that Ricky Starks is headed for a full-on heel turn. But in the meantime, that's two big wins that he's picked up now on back-to-back weeks. CM Punk, meanwhile, is getting the full-on John Cena treatment. There are people in the crowd who love him. There are people in the crowd who hate him. You'll have chants of CM Punk or Let's Go Punk and CM Punk sucks. So he's getting the John Cena treatment so far anyway from these crowds. We'll see if this leads to anything in the ring between Punk and Starks as far as a big show like All In or All Out. Those shows are still many weeks away. We still don't know what the direction is going to be there, but there was a little seed once again planted tonight by CM Punk for a future match with MJF. In the opening promo, he made a comment in that promo, which we'll get into. Also on the show tonight, FTR, fresh off their big win last week against Bullet Club Gold, had an in-ring interview to talk a little bit about the big tag team championship match coming up next week. Going to be defending their tag team titles against MJF and Adam Cole. So they had a message that they wanted to deliver specifically to Adam Cole, trying to sow the seeds of dissension between the two tag team partners. And we had a trios championship match with the House of Black, who have made Collision their home. Malachi Black did an interview a few weeks ago saying he specifically requested to be exclusive to Collision. Not because he has any particular allegiance to any one show, but if he's going to be on Collision, he told Tony Khan, I want Collision to be the only show that I am on. Because in his mind, as he explained it, if he's on all the shows, if you can find him on Dynamite and Rampage and Collision, it makes it less special because you know that you can see him on any of the shows. But if people have to tune into one show to see him, in his mind, it makes it more special. I think there is something to be said for that. So he has become exclusive to Collision. They are still the AEW Trios champions with a win over the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn. Not much of a match, but the story really was what happened when the match was over, involving Billy Gunn. So we're going to get into all that stuff. Like I said, this is your Collision review here for July 22nd. Thank you for joining me, especially those of you who were here hanging out with me last night for SmackDown. It's good to see some of you back in here again. But Collision, Collision continues to roll on as arguably the best wrestling show of the week. Even a week like this, where Collision tonight was not the best episode that they've done over the past 4 or 5 weeks. This was not the strongest episode of Collision. It certainly wasn't on paper coming into this show tonight. But when it was over, I thought overall it was a very good show and a very easy 2-hour watch, which is really all that you can ask for. The quality of the show, they've been able to maintain the quality of the show so far. We'll see what happens, a couple months from now if the bloom is off the rose. Hopefully not, though, because Collision has seemed to find the right formula as far as the right mix of in-ring wrestling and promos. And, they're telling their own stories on this show. It's not like it's, devoid of any storytelling. It has all of those elements, but the pacing of the show is just so different from Dynamite. They slow things down. Some of the matches have more time to kind of marinate, especially the main events. And it's good. It's been a good mix so far. Hopefully it continues. Hit that like button. Also, subscribe. Subscribe. Super chats are open. You guys already know that, though. If we have any more that come in, we only have a couple so far, but any more that come in, we'll go through them. I will give you guys a shout out and read those a little bit later on. Ian Riccaboni and Nigel McGuinness were the announce team for the show for the second week in a row because Kevin Kelly is over in Japan. He is doing the G1 Climax. And that's perfectly fine because I think Ian has done a fine job so far. Tony Schiavone was in the ring to kick things off. He was there to introduce us at the beginning of the show to the winner of the men's Owen Hart Foundation tournament, Absolute Ricky Starks. Ricky Starks comes out, and Ricky Starks got more pyro for his entrance than any person that I have seen since Kevin Nash made his entrance for the match with Hollywood Hogan on Nitro at the Georgia Dome for the infamous finger poke of doom. That's kind of a famous entrance for Kevin Nash. I don't think I've seen anybody since then have this much pyro. It was comical. Comical how much pyro there was for this. Maybe he was soaking it up. He was soaking it all up. So he got a chant of "You deserve it" from the crowd here in New Jersey. Stark said that he never agreed more with a city than he does right now. He assumed that people were wondering what was in the bag that he brought to the ring with him because he had a bag that he was holding, almost looked like a doctor's bag. He said there was nothing in the bag. He just wanted to show off his new Louis Vuitton bag. Stark said that the way that he won against CM Punk last week, since Tony Schiavone was wondering about that, and everybody all week long was wondering about the way in which he won that match. He goes, the way that he won the match, people aren't going to be remembering that. They're not going to be talking about that. He said that he does things that way because anything, by any means necessary, anything goes. However he has to pick up the win, he will go ahead and do what it takes. He's willing to do what it takes to pick up the win, even if that means winning by underhanded means. So Schiavone asked him about disrespecting Jushin Thunder Liger. I was wondering if they were going to bring this up again, because for the people who were wondering, was this the start of a heel turn or not? Maybe it's not really a heel turn. I thought it was pretty clear that was the direction they were going in, just the way he blew off Liger last week. So Tony Schiavone brought up Liger by name. That was when the match was over last week. Starks ripped the Owen Hart Cup out of Liger's hands and just blew right past him. Didn't even acknowledge it. So Starks blew off the question here. He didn't really give an answer, and he talked instead about fans saying that he should be considered one of the pillars of the company. So here we go again, this discussion about the pillars of AEW. He said that he hates that term, but he doesn't want to be a pillar. And he pointed out, he goes, how many of these pillars have won the Owen Hart Cup? So out walks CM Punk, no music, in street clothes, to loud boos, mostly boos, from the crowd here in Newark. He got in the ring. He told Ricky, look, he's not mad at him for the way that he won their match last week. He's actually kind of proud of him. And he said that the fans in New Jersey couldn't say that they've never cheated at anything in their lives. And he mocked the New Jersey Devils by saying they might have gone past the first round had they cheated. So CM Punk fully embracing the reaction here in Newark. He says, I can live with the L, but can you live with the win knowing that deep down you can't beat CM Punk without cheating? And Punk patted him on the arm and he left the ring. Starks said that his Louis Vuitton bag is as empty as the bag, the red bag that Punk carries around with him. And that stopped Punk in his tracks. Punk turned around on the ramp and he walked right back into the ring. He got up in Ricky's face. Now, this time, I will say that when he got back in the ring, he was getting chance of CM Punk. So when I say at the beginning of the stream that Punk now is kind of the John Cena of this brand and that he's getting these mixed reactions, even though at the beginning of the show when he came out, it was mostly, I would say, 70 to 80% boos, there were people chanting for him as well, in this building. So he comes back to the ring. He gets up in Ricky's face. He goes, you want a shot at what's in the bag, Ricky? He goes, or are you like Little Max and you just don't want me to have it? He goes, I am the real world champion. This is like Ric Flair now, circa 1991. So he's calling himself the real world champion. All of a sudden, Christian Cage. Now there's a real champion for you. Christian Cage walks out on stage with Luchasaurus. Christian had the TNT title over his shoulder. He said that they were contractually obligated to appear tonight, but this was taking too long for his liking. He said he didn't want to spend any more time in New Jersey than he had to. I don't blame him. He said there's a reason they call it Dirty Jersey, and he told all the Jersey sweat hogs to shut their mouths. Shout out to Rick Rude, the first person I ever heard use the word sweat hog in my life. I was a young wrestling fan back then, and I was wondering what a sweat hog was. But I never forgot it. I never forgot that word. So Christian is standing there. He has the TNT title, which technically belongs to the dinosaur. But he's standing there with the TNT title draped over his shoulder without an ounce of self-awareness. And he asked CM Punk what kind of a man carries around a belt that he didn't win. And he declared himself and first he declared himself, then he stopped himself and said he and Luchasaurus, he declared them the faces of TNT now and forever. So as he's speaking, out walks Darby Allin from behind. And Darby doesn't attack him. Darby, just as he's walking by, swipes the microphone out of Christian's hand. And he walks down to the ring. He tells Ricky that he hates the pillar description also. I also hate it, he says. And he said that anybody who is ride or die with AEW, in his eyes, is a pillar of the company. Like my good friend CM Punk. As he put his arm around Punk, Punk was laughing. So they found a way to get Darby Allin booed. All he had to do was come out in front of this crowd and call CM Punk his friend. So Darby told Christian and Luchasaurus that he will become the face of TNT at All Out. Because for those of you who may have missed it, on which I'm sure is most of you, on Rampage last night, they had the annual Royal Rampage match, Battle Royal, whatever. And Darby Allin won. And by virtue of him winning the Royal Rampage, he now becomes #1 contender for the TNT Championship. But he will not be challenging for the title until All Out at the beginning of September. So that's what he was referring to there. Darby said Luchasaurus looks like a guy who took too many psychedelics and thinks he's a dinosaur. He called for a tag team match tonight with him and CM Punk teaming up against Ricky Starks and either Christian or Luchasaurus. Tony Schiavone then said, I'm getting word in my ear from Tony Khan that he has made the match official and the main event was made. CM Punk and Darby Allin would be taking on Ricky Starks, and he said Luchasaurus, but Darby looks over at Schiavone, he corrects him. And he says Christian Cage, because the graphic on screen, which they had already prepared, had Christian teaming with Ricky Starks, now Luchasaurus. So that was the official main event made for tonight. It was fine. It was, talking. It was a fine opening segment where they just used it to set up the main event that was not announced in advance. But it built up tension between Punk and Ricky. Clearly, this issue is going to continue between them, right? So you had to address that at the beginning of the show, or at some point on the show. You had to address what happened at the end of the show last week in the Owens. So they did that with Punk and Starks. So they did that. They also planted a little seed with the comment that Punk made about him being the real world's champion and mentioning Max. So they've been doing this recently. They planted another seed there for the eventual future match, whenever that may be. Could be Chicago, at All Out, between CM Punk and MJF. But they also gave Darby a chance to go out there and mention that he's next in line for the TNT title for the people who, again, may not have seen the Royal Rampage the night before. So, you know, they accomplished a few things here, but otherwise, you're pretty much your standard opening segment. Although I do love these segments with Christian. Christian in that role is just so great. He's one of my favorite parts about AEW television right now. Just what he's doing. We don't even get to see him wrestle hardly. This match he had tonight, this was like a rare treat to get to see him in the ring. But just his character and his delivery in those promos and just what a fucking smarmy prick he is. It's great. So I love seeing Christian on TV. So Riccaboni and McGuinness, at this point, they throw it to footage from earlier in the day of Andrade El Idolo arriving at the building, and he was confronted by security. And the security guards informed him that AEW management did not want him in the building after what happened last week, and also just to make sure that he didn't get involved in the Trios title match with the House of Black later on in the show. And Andrade, after much prodding, Andrade eventually left. I don't know if you noticed, one of the security guards, I think, probably all of the security guards were wrestlers, but one in particular was Rhett Titus. I saw him, I said, wait a minute. I go, Rhett Titus has fallen on hard times here. Now he has to be a security guard. He used to be a wrestler. He used to be I was going to call him a star, semi-star, and now he's relegated here to being part of the Geek Squad here on this show. But there he was, former Ring of Honor star Rhett Titus is one of the security guards. So this was weird. They cut to commercial, but they cut to picture-in-picture. The problem is there was nothing to show in picture-in-picture because they were cutting to a full-on commercial breaks. I'm not sure what the miscommunication was here. So you had the commercial on the left side of the screen, and on the right side in the box, all you had was just the AEW Collision logo on a loop. So we got picture-in-picture that showed us absolutely nothing. We had Bullet Club Gold, Jay White, and Juice Robinson, fresh off their Matt Classic with FTR last week. And honestly, and I said it then, one of the best matches in AEW history was that tag team match that we saw last week. They had the Guns in their corner taking on the team of Action Andretti and Darius Martin. Andretti went for a split-legged moonsault. Robinson, though, cut him off and hung him in a tree of woe. Robinson hit cannonballs on both men before hitting his pendulum DDT on Andretti. Jay White picked Andretti back up. He was setting him up for Blade Runner. Now, it was very apparent to myself, I'm sure it was very apparent to you if you were watching, that Jay White was about to hit his finishing maneuver. And he stood there for a good 2 or 3 seconds setting it up before actually executing it. So naturally, what do? They cut away. They cut to a shot of Juice Robinson attacking Darius Martin outside on the floor. Jay White hits Blade Runner, and they cut back just in time for us to have missed the move. Are you fucking kidding me? Now, thankfully, they show the replay of it, so we did get to see the finish, but how does that happen? Like, we had Blood and Guts on Wednesday, and I saw a lot of people on social media complaining about the camera work and spots that were missed. I can almost understand it in a match like that because you've got 10 guys in 2 rings. You got people in the aisle. You have people on top of the cage. You have 2 different rings, action going on all over the place. It's entirely possible that you're going to cut away at the wrong moment because, there's something else that's going on. How in this moment do you cut away from Jay White as he is getting ready to hit his finishing maneuver? I don't understand how that happens. It doesn't make sense. Anyway, This was a showcase for Bullet Club Gold, coming off their loss last week. That gets them back on the winning track. Jay White and Juice Robinson, they continue to gel very well together. Jay White in particular, I'm very happy to see him doing so well. I know there was a lot made early on about him being buried. I mean, people love throwing that word around. See my LA Night rant from last night. People love throwing that word around, but he hasn't been around for that long, and already he's being established, bit by bit every single week. The only thing I would say is that Jay White is far better than just being in a tag team. The team with him and Juice right now, it's working, it's fun, they can do that. But the money in Jay White is as a singles heel. So there are far bigger things in Jay White's future than just going after the AEW tag team titles. That's what the Guns are for. You got another team in Bullet Club Gold. They can go after the tag team titles. At some point, Jay White is going to branch out, and we're going to see what Jay White can really do in the ring. Now, the announcers after this, they highlighted Willow Nightingale's week. She had a big week. She won the Owen Hart Cup last week against Ruby Soho on Collision. And then on Friday night, she challenged Athena for the Ring of Honor Women's Championship at Death Before Dishonor. They got the main event spot. First time in the 21-year history of Ring of Honor that the women went on last and main evented a pay-per-view. They had an excellent match. So if you did not see the match, I would recommend it. I enjoyed it more than their match back in February, and I thought that match was excellent. Very surprised by the finish with Athena retaining, just based on how they set that whole thing up, and they really focused on Willow's family and her parents in the front row, and it just seemed like they were setting up here, last match on the show, closing out the night for a big title change, and there was no big title change, but that was an excellent match that they had last night. We had Miro, who got a big pop when his music hit, out to wrestle Nick Camarado. Camarado attacked Miro from behind on the ramp as he was making his entrance, so that was different. Somebody attacking Miro before he hit the ring. Camarado controlled the match early on. He hit corner splashes. Miro dodged one of them, hit a German suplex. Miro hit a big side kick, ripped his shirt off. He shouted for game over. He applied the game over submission, and he got the quick submission win. So at least it wasn't a total squash. It was a 97% squash. It wasn't a 100% squash this time. Hopefully soon we can get him involved in some competitive matches. That would be nice. Right now, I think we should all just be happy that he's at least back on TV. I had given up on him, honestly. I mean, that whole situation to me is still bizarre. Maybe one day we'll find out the truth about exactly what the hell that was all about. All that time that he missed and he wasn't hurt. And we get these kind of cryptic messages and these cryptic comments about, a lot of them, honestly, from his wife, who was making comments about it. And then one day he's randomly back. It's like, okay, why did he miss 9 months again? Maybe one day we'll find out. So up next, we have the House of Black defending their AEW World Trios titles against the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn. Now, Max Caster comes out, and he's doing his rap. And the only full line that I was able to pick up from the rap was, the House of Black getting smacked down, leave you on the floor like drugs at the White House. And then he started in on Buddy Matthews. Poor Buddy Matthews. Buddy Matthews has been getting so much abuse all week long. Everyone's talking about Rhea Ripley and Dominic Mysterio. Rhea Ripley's the women's world champion. Dominic now is the NXT North American champion. They're taking pictures with each other. He's sticking his tongue out. She's posting videos on TikTok talking about fucking him. Like, all this stuff is going on, right? And everyone is posting Buddy Matthews memes all over my timeline. I see Buddy Matthews memes, sad Buddy, cuck Buddy. Max Caster once called him a cuck in a rap, and so you had to know that he was going to come after poor Buddy Matthews here. And he started to. He said he said Buddy was looking kind of nauseous. Buddy Matthews did not look interested in waiting to find out what the rest of his rap was going to be. Buddy Matthews knew that he was a target in this rap, and he wasted no time in bolting out of the ring and blasting Max Caster in the face with a knee strike. He was not taking Max Caster's shit here on this show. So that ended the rap part of this entrance and shut him up. This match was way shorter than I expected it to be. This did not go very long at all. It was damn near a squash. It started out just a giant brawl outside the ring. The House of Black was kicking all their asses, throwing them into the barricades. They worked over Caster while his partner stayed down at ringside after that initial beatdown. He almost tagged out. Brody King, though, pulled Anthony Bowens off the apron. Billy Gunn ran Brody King into the barricade. He climbed up onto the apron. The announcers were talking about how Billy was trying to redeem himself after their performance in their last match against the House of Black. So Billy got the hot tag. And in comes Billy Gunn. He worked over Malachi and Buddy Matthews, but Brody King cut him off with a clothesline. Malachi followed that with the Black Mass kick. Thanks for coming. He covers Billy Gunn. He gets the 1, 2, 3, and that's all she wrote. The House of Black retained their trios titles. This did not even go a full 5 minutes. So a lot shorter, like I said, than I was expecting this to be. And honestly, I thought for sure after the segment they aired earlier in the show, I thought it was there for a good reason. I thought for sure that Andrade, as revenge for what the House of Black has been doing to him and stealing his mask, was going to come back into the building through the crowd and distract them or attack one of them and cost them the trios titles. And they were going to give the titles to the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn. I was convinced of this. So the finish surprised me as well. But the story was the post-match. Really was. I mean, the match itself was nothing special. It's good that they kept the House of Black strong. You know, they were so dominant. But the match itself was just it was a backdrop to the angle, what I presume is an angle that came after the match. Billy Gunn now is sitting back up after being kicked in the face. And he's licking his wounds. And Malachi Black is sitting on the mat facing him. And then he leans in and he whispers something in Billy's ear before exiting the ring. And Brody King follows. Buddy Matthews also in the background, you see him kneel down. He whispers something to Billy Gunn. And then he gives him a pat on the arm. Like they're paying their respects to him. And then he leaves the ring as well. All of a sudden, whatever they said to him, we don't know. Billy Gunn begins to unlace his boots. And this took forever. And each boot, it felt like forever for him to unlace these fucking things. But the crowd picked up on what was going on here, because when you see somebody, you know, take their boots off or leave their boots in the middle of the ring, typically that's a sign of somebody who is retiring, right? That's how Triple H ended his career. After Triple H came back from the heart attack and he was convalescing for months, it was WrestleMania, right? I think it was WrestleMania 38 where he opened the show. He came down to the ring, and if I remember correctly, I believe he left his boots in the ring. So when you see that, it's an indication that someone's career is over. So they start chanting, "You still got it," at him. They start chanting for Daddy Ass. He gets one boot off, and it takes him another 5 minutes to get the other boot off. Meanwhile, Max Caster and Anthony Bowens are outside the ring with very confused looks on their faces. They don't know what's going on here. Finally, he gets off both boots. He places them in the middle of the ring, and he walks out. As he exits the ring, Caster and Bowens, they're on the floor. They're trying to talk to him. He just ignores them. He blows right by them. And Billy Gunn walks all the way to the back as the fans continue to cheer for him. And the Acclaim just look very confused. They're not sure exactly what this all means. Remember the one episode of Dynamite a couple of years ago where, funny enough, it was Malachi Black who kicked Cody Rhodes in the face and pinned him. That was at Daly's place. And after the match was over, Cody Rhodes cut a promo. He took his boots off, and he left his boots in the middle of the ring until Malachi came back out and hit him with a crutch in the back and then stole one of his boots. But we saw this with Cody and Malachi a couple of years ago. First of all, there's no way that this is the end of Billy Gunn's career. I don't believe that this. I don't believe that this was legit, and this is the end of Billy Gunn. We'll see. I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to see where this is going. I don't know where this is going to go. My initial read on this is that it's leading to a heel turn, and this is going to be the beginning of the end here of the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn. But clearly it's some sort of angle. I did not take this to be the actual retirement and final time in the ring for Billy Gunn. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. But I am intrigued to see where this is going to go. I'm intrigued to see where they go with the Acclaimed, because, I mean, the Acclaimed, they lost the tag team titles, right, all those months ago. And they haven't really done much since. That's why part of the reason I also thought there was a pretty decent shot of them winning the trios titles here tonight, even if it was with an assist from Andrade, because it would give them something to do, and even better, it might free up Malachi to be in an extended singles feud with Andrade. We didn't get that. The Acclaimed lose again. Where do you go with them? You know, they're not going to be challenging for the AEW tag team titles anytime soon. They had their shot at the trios titles and they lost. And now it looks like they're going to lose Billy Gunn as well. So as much as I'm interested to see where they go with the Billy stuff, I'm wondering where they go with the Acclaimed. They're still over. You know, people are still into them and the raps and everything, but what do you do with them? You don't want to turn them heel. They're still one of your more popular acts. Who do you feud them with? Is it Bullet Club Gold? Maybe that's the play. You know, maybe we'll get something soon with the Acclaimed and Jay White and Juice Robinson. Honestly, that would almost feel like a downgrade to me for Jay and Juice. But otherwise, I'm not really sure what you do with them right now. So there was no commercial break. They cut to highlights from last night's Royal Rampage before coming back live. And Tony Schiavone was once again back in the ring. And he was there to introduce the AEW World Tag Team Champions, Dax Harwood, Cash Wheeler, FTR. They come down to the ring. Tony asked them about their match on Collision next week against MJF and Adam Cole. That is going to be for the tag team titles. That is next Saturday on Collision. Cash Wheeler spoke. He mentioned Aussie Open, the Acclaimed, the Young Bucks. 3 teams, he said, they all have unfinished business with. But first, he said, they have Hartford, Connecticut next week against MJF and Adam Cole. Boy, the people in New Jersey, they don't like Connecticut. Every mention of Hartford, Connecticut got loud boos. Loud boos. And it's almost like Dax Harwood went out of his way to keep mentioning Hartford over and over again. He seemed to be enjoying it. But Wheeler said he understands the fans
the amazing Gunther.
like MJF and Adam Cole right now. Of course they do.
Gunther the Magnificent. All hail Gunther.
Hey, Metal Rules. Metal Rules number 5. Unless that's a V. Oh my God, there's the wrecking ball. Oh, not what I wanted to see. Hey, Metal Rules, thank you for the $50 Gunther bomb, man. I appreciate that very much. Again, I'm going to be reading your super chats here in a little bit. So get them on in. And Jazz Jackrabbit, thank you for the 15 bucks, man. Thank you for the nightmare fuel for my eyes, and thank you for the 15 bucks. So he understands. Wheeler understands. The crowd, they like MJF and Adam Cole. Like, he gets that. But do they trust MJF? And they say no. He looked into the camera. He asked Adam Cole, do you trust Max? Because he doesn't. And he mentioned, look, FTR has history with him. They were part of the Pinnacle with MJF. And I think back to the Pinnacle, and it's like, what a shame how it just kind of fizzled out there at the end. There was never really a proper ending for the Pinnacle. That group had more potential. Unfortunately, it just kind of evaporated. But they know MJF. They know Max. They were in the Pinnacle together once upon a time. So they know the kind of person that he is. And he told Adam Cole, don't trust him. And then he said next week, FTR is going to beat Adam Cole and MJF. Dax then took the mic. He told a story about when he was 15 years old, back when FTR bald, had hair, I assume. At the age of 15. Maybe he was balding at 15. I shouldn't say that. Maybe he was balding. Maybe he was still FTR bald at 15. I'm assuming FTR bald had hair when he was 15 years old. He said his father told him at the time that he had to go out and get a job. And every day he would go to work. The same group of kids came into the store and they made fun of him because he had to go out and get a job. And he promised himself that one day he would crack those kids right in the nose. He never got that chance, but this situation reminds him a lot of that. It feels to him like MJF and Adam Cole, they take this match as a joke. He pointed out the comedy skits, the dance break, they had a dance contest during their finals match with Sammy Guevara and Daniel Garcia on Wednesday. He goes, a dance break right in the middle of the biggest match of their tag team career. For 10 long years, all the injuries, all for the opportunity to make FTR the greatest tag team in pro wrestling. So next week, there won't be any dance breaks. There won't be any comedy because he's going to take out on them what he should have on those kids when he was 15 years old. He's going to give MJF something the real world never threatened him with, and that is an ass kicking. So FTR sowing the seeds of discontent between MJF and Adam Cole. We saw a little bit of that already on Dynamite Wednesday when Adam Cole took the big Burberry belt from the referee. MJF turned around. He saw him holding his title and he freaked out. So FTR is trying to stoke the flames a little bit more. I still don't think we're getting a title change next week. I don't think this is how FTR's reign comes to an end. You know, to a makeshift team like this. I mean, look, it's not a slam dunk. You could certainly put the belts on them, have a short run of 3 or 4 weeks, and then put the belts back on FTR. It's possible. It's possible. But I'm not feeling like we're getting a title change next week. But I thought this was a fine promo, to build up the big match for next Saturday. Taya Valkyrie one-on-one against Skye Blue. Valkyrie hit a Blue Thunder Bomb for a near fall. That took us into the picture-in-picture. Valkyrie knocked Blue down with a lariat coming out of the break, and Skye Blue then came back, hit a high crossbody for a near fall. She set up for Skyfall, but Valkyrie tied her up in the ropes and hit a sliding German suplex. Blue hit a pair of kicks, ran right into a lariat though. Valkyrie tied up Skye Blue's legs, hit a curb stomp, and picked up the win. A couple of weird spots, but I thought it was good. It was a good match overall. After it was over, Valkyrie got the mic, and she told the fans in New Jersey that they were worse than she thought. She said that she was kidding, but not really. She said things have not been going her way lately, but she beat one of their homegrown sweethearts. And then she turned her attention to Britt Baker. And she mocked Britt Baker for beating an extra, as she called her, on Dynamite Wednesday. And she challenged Britt Baker to a match on Dynamite this upcoming Wednesday, which we were later told is now official. So on Dynamite this week, it will be Taya against Britt. And I'm not really sure what to expect from that. Taya against Britt, it could be very, bad, or it could surprise me, and it could end up being a pretty good match. I don't know. I don't know what the chemistry is going to be like between these two women. Taya Valkyrie has a lot more experience than Britt Baker does, so I don't really know what to expect. It's one of those first-time matches that I guess we'll find out together on Wednesday. But the main event of this show was the tag team match that was set up in the opening segment. It was CM Punk and Darby Allin teaming up to take on Ricky Starks and the TNT champion, the real TNT champion, Christian Cage. For some reason, there was somebody in the crowd with a sign that they were holding up that said, John Cena is a con artist. I would like to know the story behind this sign. I don't know. What makes John Cena a con artist? I would love to know. It was just weird because CM Punk was standing in the ring at the time when I first caught view of the sign. So, there's Punk, and right behind... So here's Punk, who I mentioned before is getting the John Cena treatment from this crowd. And right behind CM Punk is a sign that says, John Cena is a con artist. So not quite sure what the story is there. Maybe, you know what? Maybe it's that guy that got blown off by John Cena in the restaurant that time. That could be it. When John Cena looked over at the guy, said, I'm trying to have some time with my friends. Maybe that guy got really upset. Maybe he brought that sign to the crowd. I don't know. Con artist or con artist? K-H-A-N? I don't know. No, it said con. So, beginning of this match, Ricky doesn't want to get in. Christian doesn't want to get in. They're on the apron. They're arguing with each other. Meanwhile, the referee is counting. Referee's count makes it all the way up to 9 before finally Ricky gets into the ring. And Punk put Starks down. Got a mixed reaction from the crowd. Starks tagged out. Christian was not happy. Punk and Darby, they worked the left arm of Christian while making quick tags. Punk put Christian down with a leg lariat. Then he looked over at Ricky Starks and locked eyes with him. Christian crawled over to his corner to tag out, but Ricky put his hands up. He wasn't ready to tag, and Punk hoisted up Christian for the GTS, but Cage slipped out, took Punk down. Starks then tagged in, and he joined Christian in going after CM Punk, shot him into the ropes. Christian dropped down. Punk held on to the ropes, though, and ended up getting the better of both men. So Punk and Darby, they cleared the heels from the ring, and Punk dove out onto them. Darby went up top, hit them with a coffin drop at ringside. They showed a little while later Scorpio Sky was sitting up in one of the Skye boxes, just sitting there by himself watching. So I don't know who he was eyeballing, but that was the television time that he got here on this show. Punk made the hot tag to Darby, who hit a flipping stunner on Christian, hit a code red on Ricky Starks. Darby followed up with a suicide dive on Ricky. He went for the same move on Luchasaurus. Luchasaurus did not budge. It was like running into a wall. Darby went splat, and then he fell, and he landed on the floor. Christian then threw him into the bottom part of the announce desk, which broke. Which sounds more devastating than it really... I don't know what material it is, but... doesn't look like it takes a whole lot to break, but he broke the bottom part of the announce desk. Back inside, Ricky turned Darby inside out with a clothesline, covered him for a near fall, heading into picture-in-picture. So Darby was isolated. He made it over to the corner for a tag, but Ricky pulled Punk down off the apron. And Punk went after Ricky, so he wasn't there when Darby finally made it to his corner and he was trying to make a tag. There was nobody there. There's nobody to tag. Darby eventually escaped Ricky. He made a diving tag to Punk, who was back on the apron. Punk did a cartwheel, which Ian Riccaboni said was a tribute to Bam Bam Bigelow. By the way, that is the Dark Side of the Ring episode this coming Tuesday. They are covering Bam Bam Bigelow on the show. Punk hit high knees in opposite corners to both heels, and then he hit a bulldog clothesline combo at the same time on both men. Punk went up top. He hit a crossbody block. Christian, though, rolled through, got a 2 count. Christian went up top. He got cut off by a Punk punch, and Punk backdropped Christian. He was on the middle rope, and he backdropped Christian from the top. And then he kind of reconfigured himself up there, hit a diving elbow drop onto Christian, only got 2. Ricky tagged in, he avoided the GTS. Punk dropped Starks with a kick to the head. Darby tagged in while Ricky couldn't tag out because Christian was down. So there was nobody in his corner to tag. Darby went for a springboard move. Starks, though, I don't know what happened here. He went for something off the ropes. It looked like Ricky got the better of it, but they basically collided in midair. Darby, though, took the brunt of it, so Ricky got up. He speared Darby, hit him with the Rochambeau, which is his finish, and Darby kicked out. Darby kicked out of his finish. So Darby comes back with a reverse DDT from the ropes. Had Ricky pinned. Christian, though, makes it back in the ring at the very last second to break up the fall. So Punk took out Ricky with a GTS on the floor. Or not Ricky, he took out Christian with a GTS on the floor. And when Christian fell backwards on the GTS, the back of his head looked like it smacked the guardrail. So that was the end of Christian for the time being. So with the referee focused on what just happened outside, and I should pause there and say, because you might be asking, well, Why would the referee be occupied with what's going on outside? Especially with the two men who were not legal in the match. Why would the referee be bothering with what's going on outside? Well, you see, it is because the AEW referees are contractually obligated to look like idiots. That would be why. So while that was going on, Darby Allin on the opposite side of the ring was up on the top rope. Luchasaurus crotched Darby. Ricky then pulled Darby onto his shoulder, set up for another Rochambeau. Darby, though, rolled him into a pin attempt. Ricky escaped, ended up on top of Darby, kind of hooking his leg forward. And with that same arm that he was using to hook the leg forward, he grabbed the bottom rope and holds on to the bottom rope. Referee does not see. And for the second week in a row, Ricky Starks steals the win by holding on to the rope. He steals another one. And Ricky wins the match for his team. As he and Christian pick up the win at the 25-minute mark. Again, one of the things I like about this show, with their main events, they give them time. They give them time. They don't feel rushed. And we have seen some excellent tag team wrestling on this show here in the first month of Collision. This is, what was this tonight? This was episode 5? 6? I think 5. And we have had quite a bit of great tag team wrestling. Now, besides the fact that it would appear Collision is the place to go for tag team wrestling. And look, it wasn't FTR and Bullet Club Gold from last week. I mean, nothing was going to be. But I enjoyed this match a lot. Crowd was hot for it. Clearly, Ricky Starks going heel. This is the slow burn. Crowd is still cheering for him. I mean, there's some boos in there, but the crowd is still behind Ricky for the time being. I hope the match we get it all out is Darby challenging Christian. Even though Luchasaurus is the champion, Christian is sort of the de facto champion. I hope Darby against a bigger guy like Luchasaurus could be good, because we've seen Darby in there with people bigger than him and he bumps like a madman. But the match I would like to see, I would like for it to be Christian against Darby. I hope that's the match that they do. We don't get to see much of Christian in the ring at this point, which is understandable. He's 49 years old, with a history of injuries and concussions, and he shouldn't be out there every week in the ring. But when we do get to see him in the ring, the guy can still go. The guy can still go. So I very much enjoyed this match. We'll see as far as where they go with Starks and Punk. Do they do a match on a big show like All In? Do they blow it off before then? I think you want to save it for All In at Wembley. I think you want to get a big match out of it between the two of them. It would be a great platform for Ricky Starks to have a big pay-per-view match with CM Punk. But, again, they have 2 big shows back-to-back at the end of next month. So it's just a matter of picking one. I would imagine that All In would probably be the place for that. We got a rundown of the Dynamite card coming up on Wednesday. So Dynamite will have Orange Cassidy defending his AEW International title against AR Fox. That was a favor for Darby Allin, who requested the match on Wednesday from Orange Cassidy. He said, look, this guy, I think he said he let me sleep in his car when I was homeless. Like, give him a shot at the International title. Orange Cassidy said yes. So that's coming up on Wednesday. We have Darby Allin one-on-one with Swerve Strickland. We have Britt Baker against Taya Valkyrie. Pac against Gravity, which sounds like a hell of a match, but there is a wrestler named Gravity. I know not everybody knows who Gravity is. Gravity is the brother of Bandito, who just got a win over Commander on the Death Before Dishonor show last night. So Gravity will be on Dynamite taking on Pac, who lost to Claudio last night. Speaking of Claudio, it'll be Claudio and Jon Moxley, the Lucha Brothers, and Best Friends in a triple threat tag team match. And we were told that we will hear from MJF and Adam Cole. Collision next Saturday looks like a very strong show. FTR defending their tag team titles against Cole and MJF. We have Action Andretti, Darius Martin, and El Hijo del Vikingo is back. They're taking on Juice Robinson and the Guns Ian Riccaboni, in describing the match, said, "We've got a 6-man dream match on Collision next week." I like Ian Riccaboni. I don't want to pick on Ian Riccaboni. Maybe he was just saying what he was told. But I think we need to dial it back. As far as all this talk of dream matches, is that really a dream match next week? When you heard this match announced, Juice Robinson, Austin and Colton Gunn against Darius Martin, Action Andretti, and Vikingo, did you say, man, my dreams come true? Nobody said that. Should be a fun match, but I would not be calling it a dream match. When you start throwing around dream match for everything, at some point it stops having any meaning whatsoever. So that's next week. Buddy Matthews goes one-on-one with Andrade. It's going to be a rematch from the very first episode of Collision. They had an excellent match on that first episode. But it's going to be a ladder match with Andrade's mask that they stole hanging above the ring. And the other members of the House of Black will be barred from ringside. So just the ladder match alone with the tag team title match makes that show next week must-see. Which is too bad because I probably am not getting home until late next Saturday. So I don't think I'll be live, but I will definitely be tuning into the show. Here's the Twitter poll for tonight. 84% of you have given this show a thumbs up. Very strong score for Collision tonight. Collision from Newark. 84 up. Only 16% thumbs down. So at Solomonster on Twitter is where you can go to vote on what you thought of the show. Always love to hear from you guys. Duffs says Ian was in a dream when he said that. Yeah. I don't know what he was thinking. That ain't no dream match to me. That ain't no dream match to me. Hey, Down Bad coming in with the $20 super chat. Down Bad, thank you. Let's kick things off here with Mr. Notorious Chico 86. Dropping in here tonight with a $5 super chat. Says buy or sell, he wants to know. Dr. D, David Schultz, San Francisco women promo or Ken Patera botch promo on the Heenan family, whipping him like a redheaded stepson. I always laugh at both of them when I see them, but honestly, I gotta go with the Ken Patera one just because it's very rare that you ever saw Mean Gene being anything but professional during a promo. It was very rare that you ever saw Mean Gene corpsing on camera. He was fighting like hell. He did everything he could. It was a losing battle. I don't think I wouldn't have been able to hold it in. I would have just busted a gut. Ken Patera probably would have fucking ripped my head off. That would have been the end of me. Maybe he would have picked up a boulder and thrown it at me. I gotta go with the botch promo though. JS Heeds heading to Collision in Connecticut next week, and I am pretty excited for what looks to be a hell of a card. Yes, you are. You're going to get a hell of a show next week. Old Dirty Sausage. Is it weird to say that I like Collision better than Dynamite and Blood and Guts this week? There's nothing weird about that at all. Blood and Guts is not... It's not everyone's cup of tea. Not everybody likes that kind of stuff. You're going to have people who love it. You're going to have people who absolutely hate it. I don't think that's a hot take at all. Rodimus Prime enjoyed the show tonight. Collision has made for good TV so far. Naughty Delicious Chicken with Flavor says, despite what the ratings say, I honestly love Collision so much. This show by far has enhanced the AEW product. Says, my love for AEW is back. Metal Rules with that $50 super chat from a few minutes ago. I always wondered why Andre the Giant did not win the first ever Royal Rumble. He was going to take the title off of Hogan a few months later. Do you have any inside scoop on why they picked Hacksaw Jim Duggan instead? Because, I mean, the Royal Rumble in '88 was not conceived for any other reason other than to fuck with Crockett Promotions. I believe it was the Bunkhouse Stampede they were competing with that night. They wanted to come up with a live, free cable special to run opposite the NWA show to fuck with them. It was not a matter of, well, the winner of the Royal Rumble is going to go on to get a title match, or the winner of the Royal Rumble is going to have some sort of, cachet, or they're going to... That wasn't their mindset back then. It was just another event. It was a gimmick. They said, let's run with this new gimmick. But they needed some kind of idea for this television special on USA Network. And like I said, it was only to just mess with the competition. So Hacksaw Jim Duggan was very over at the time. You know, maybe he wasn't a world champion, but he was pretty popular. So the idea was, we're going to try this new gimmick match. We're going to, put one of the baby faces over. And Duggan is the one that they chose. Simple as that. It had nothing to do with anything else. Jazz Jackrabbit. Quit my job of 20 years yesterday. Such a relief, as it was a nightmare towards the end. Hard times are behind me, and now excited to seek out new things. Best part, with the free time, I can watch more of your streams live. See, I like that. That's one of the silver linings in that. Well, I'm sorry you had such a shitty experience there. I know that sucks. But you sound happier. I'm sure you'll land on your feet very soon. So I'm happy for you. Nobody should be miserable at their job. It's like me watching Raw on most weeks. Except this week. I actually thought Raw was much better than SmackDown this week. I had people practically attacking me. I don't even want to get into it. Some of the people I had to deal with today for the most innocuous tweets. I mean, the tribalism is unbelievable. But the people who would see something that was posted about SmackDown that they construed as being even remotely negative, even when it really wasn't necessarily negative. And then the comments that you get about, y'all be crapping on the show, y'all be tripping, y'all be watching a different... First of all, who's y'all? I'm one person, okay? You can say me. That's number one. Number two, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Because 98% of these people don't even follow me. I don't know. Somehow my tweets end up on their timeline. And they just see it and they react. And I realize how truly dumb a lot of wrestling fans are on social media. A lot of them are truly, seriously, just not intelligent people. Thankfully, that's not any of the people here or the people I generally follow on social media. But occasionally, these other people will seep in there somehow. And it's just shocking to me how dumb, how seriously dumb and stupid some of these people are. It's very scary. It's very scary. And they make all wrestling fans look just as stupid as they are. They make you look stupid. They make me look stupid. It's almost deflating to see. It's just incredible. Anyway, Down Bad with the $20 says, just got back home from Collision. Crowd was hot all night. And yes, a section of the crowd was cheering for themselves during the main event. CM Punk was hands down the most over, along with Starks, the Acclaimed, and Bullet Club Gold. And we got Tuxedo T Servo. My money is that the person with the Cena sign was a former Nexus member. You may be right. Could have been. It could have been. Hey, Tuxedo, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Oh, man. Well, another Collision in the books. Thank you guys for hanging out with me tonight here on a Saturday night. Because I figured I probably was not going to be able to catch the show in time to do a live review next week. At least that's how it's looking. So if I'm not doing a Collision review for at least another 3 weeks, which it looks like, because then you have SummerSlam and I mean, Collision is fucked on that night. Forget that. I wanted to make sure I at least was able to get in with you guys tonight, so. Naughty Delicious just dropped a super chat here. Watching AEW Collision tonight was having delicious steak, a smoked pork, a grilled chicken, yellow rice and beans, and a salad with tomatoes. That sounds very good. I had some chicken and shrimp with pasta. We eating good. We eating good here on a Saturday night. You'll love to see it. All right, let's be the booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the booker.
Let's be the booker. My gift to you, for all of you guys who hung out with me here on a Saturday, we will be the booker. I think we had a pretty good night last night, so I'm kind of hopeful for tonight. Let's see how we do here. Get things going here. Get things going with the original Kane from 1997. This guy right here. This was the Beast. The true Beast. The original Beast. Ripping the door off its hinges at Hell in a Cell. We go Kane and Damian Priest. We got a big man match in Be the Booker. Kane and Damian Priest. The Battle of the Big Men. Mr. Money in the Bank. Kane won Money in the Bank once. And he immediately cashed in and won the championship. All right, over on the ladies' side, we begin with Tessa Blanchard. Tessa Blanchard, the former Impact World Champion, Tessa Blanchard, who has been blackballed from the business, Tessa Blanchard. Actually, I have a mention of Tessa Blanchard in my notes for tomorrow when I talk about LA Knight. I got a lot to say about LA Knight and some of the latest news on LA Knight. That'll be on the podcast tomorrow. You will not want to miss that. So we have Tessa, one-on-one with Trish Stratus. Pretty big match right there. Trish Stratus, multi-time women's champion. Tessa Blanchard would have been a multi-time women's champion in WWE had she not fucked it all up. What a waste. What a waste. But that's a pretty good match. So we're 2 for 2. Let's go to the tag teams here. Let's end this on a high note. We kick things off here with Top Flight, Darius and Dante Martin. I've not seen any medical updates on Dante Martin. I just hope for his sake he can get back in the ring at all one day. That was one of the more disgusting injuries that I've ever seen. But we saw Darius tonight. He was on Collision. Darius and Dante Martin taking on the Big Boss Man and Akeem, the Twin Towers. Yeah, I mean, that might be fine for Superstars or Wrestling Challenge. I'm trying to book some big matches here. I mean, I love me some Boss Man and Akeem. But I think we shit the bed on that one. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. I'll take it. Yeah, that's like a Rampage match. It's one of those Rampage, probably mostly squash matches. Literally squash matches. I mean, Boss Man and Akeem back then, they were big. Some people might only remember the Big Boss Man from later in his career. Big Boss Man used to be a hell of a lot heavier. He lost a lot of weight. So that would have been a literal squash match. A literal squash match. Now, Kareem, I didn't say I wouldn't watch it. I'm just saying, would I pay money to see it? Is that a match that you would pay money to see? I don't think so. I don't think so. All right, so tomorrow, episode 818 of The Sound Off. Going to have a lot to say about the Judgment Day and that Dominic Mysterio win from NXT on Tuesday, the LA Knight situation, and there was some news that came out today about how basically backstage politics could potentially be the downfall of LA Knight if he doesn't play his cards right. I'll have a lot to say about that. We'll talk AEW. I got a full Dark Side of the Ring review. I will tell you, this is the episode of Dark Side of the Ring I was looking forward to the least. And to that end, it did not disappoint. And the people they focused on in this episode of Dark Side of the Ring, put it this way, there are no winners in this episode. You'll see what I'm talking about tomorrow. And your questions as well in the mailbag. So it should be a good time. Thank you for the love tonight. Again, Collision usually is the quieter of the streams, given the day of the week it is. I guess that's to be expected, but thank you for those of you who were able to hang out with me tonight. We'll end here with Naughty Delicious coming in with a one final super chat here. Kane against Damian Priest, Steve Austin as the guest referee. So there you go. He would book Stone Cold as the guest referee. All right. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday night, guys. I'm going to try to wrap. I still got work to do for tomorrow's show. So the work never ends. I will try to wrap that up. Watch for the podcast tomorrow. And we'll come back here live again on Monday night for the Monday Night Raw review. Be well, stay safe, and I'll see you guys then. Until then, take care.